What's up guys, PieGuy Coding here, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing shapeArea on CodeFights.com. And this one is an interesting function. It actually requires you to kind of look at this diagram over here and kind of like think about what's going on with this polygon, I guess they call it, yeah, polygon. And I'll walk you guys through how I solved it. I'm sure there's other ways to solve it, or other ways of thinking about it, but I'm just going to walk you guys through the way that I did it. So first off, let's just look at the problem. So I'll read it for you guys. Below we define an n interesting polygon, so for n just means like any number of sides, or any number of areas. A interesting polygon is just a square with a side of length 1. An n interesting polygon is obtained by taking the n minus 1 interesting polygon and appending 1 interesting polygons to its rim side by side. You can see the 1, 2, 3, and 4 interesting polygons in the picture below. So that's helpful for us, but let's just take a look at the actual picture itself. So I'm going to switch over to actually Photoshop just to kind of illustrate this. I feel like I can illustrate it better in Photoshop. So we have this polygon here, right? And we want to know the area. We want almost like a formula that'll calculate the area for any n number of polygons. So if we look at n equals 1, of course it's very simple. It's just one square, and of course then it's just going to be the area is equal to 1. And then we have this sort of n equals 2, where you basically add a square to each side of the first square. So, and then you can see in n equals 3 they added a square here, 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 and here, 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 and here. Those are basically all the sides, the exposed sides of n equals 2. You basically append a square to that. And you can see this pattern happens every time you go up 1n. So basically the way that I thought about this is, of course, if you have 1, then you know that the area is going to be equal to 1. So let's take a deeper look at this. If we look at n equals 4, we can see that there's actually this interesting pattern that's going on. I'm going to show you guys by highlighting the squares just to illustrate the pattern that's happening, just so it's a little bit clearer on what exactly is happening each time n goes up by 1. So one sec. Okay guys, I'm back. So basically what I just did was I highlighted some of the squares in red and some of them in blue. And this will help kind of illustrate the pattern that's going on each time you increment by 1, or increment n by 1. So if we look at the pattern, we can see actually that there's 4 red diagonals that have 4 in those diagonals. And then we have 3 blue diagonals that have 3 squares in each of those diagonals. And if we were to sort of like relate this to n, we can say that there's n number of diagonals with n squares in them. These are the red ones. And we can say that we can express the blue ones as there are n minus 1 diagonals with n minus 1 squares in them. So we can kind of use that to help us with this coding problem and calculate the area. So if we go back to CodeFights, we can actually try and express this as a formula. So what we're going to do is we're first going to say that if n is equal to, or is the same as, 1, then we're just going to return 1. This is just in the case that we have 1, because the pattern isn't really there in this case. But for all other cases, it becomes more apparent. So otherwise, we're just going to express it in terms of n. So if we say that result is equal to, and if we look back here, we said that there was n diagonals with n number of squares in them. So in order to express that, we would say that there's n number of rows, those are the red ones, with n number of squares in them. So that takes care of the area of these areas, the red areas. And if we look at the blue, we can express that as being n minus 1 times n minus 1. And that's because we have n minus 1 number of blue diagonals, and we have n minus 1 number of squares in those diagonals. And if we just add those together, you would get the total area. So we can just return that result. And if we run the tests, we see that we get them all right. Let's submit it just to make sure. And it's all good. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any more comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section below. And remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. And I'll see you guys next time.